What is up, everyone? Welcome to the Rage Traders NRL Supercoach podcast. Wolfie here, and I hope you're doing absolutely amazing. As always, we are coming in with my trades, my captains, and of course, a bit of a strategy and the way I'm sort of thinking coming in to the last of the major and minor buy rounds. Now, of course, in saying that, I am doing something I usually would never do, but I think this week is the time to do it. And I'm just going to talk about some of the trades this week, what I sort of disagree with and agree with. But before we get started, if you're listening on YouTube, like, subscribe, and comment for the algorithm. That helps me a ton. And of course, if you're listening on audio, that is Apple Podcasts or Spotify Podcasts, a 5-star review really does help. So please, if you have the time to do that, I'd really appreciate it. But let's get into it. So I haven't set up my team properly yet, but these are my trades. Jackson Ford down to Miles Martin. As you would all know, that is a cash grab. That is something that I'm now taking out of my front row forward or 2RF area or just my forward area and dumping that into my fullback area. Makasini out for Ponga. Now, if you look at my team, you might think, well, why are you taking Makasini out instead of Sua? And I'll go through everything, but let's go from top to bottom. So Ollie Pascoe, obviously Verrills last week came in very early from him. He's not going to be a trade out for me at the moment. But if things look like they're going to stay the same, he could easily be a cash grab for me. Not next week because they have the bye, but the following week after. Again, the one thing, however, we have to know is that with the major bye next week, if you are someone like me with someone that is playing in Origin, you're going to have no hooker there. That's completely fine because it's going to be 13 only, so you don't have to worry about that too much. But in round 19, if Gold Coast continue this sort of form of Verrills now taking off Pascoe early, especially since they beat Penrith at home, which is incredible, you might see this running theme where, okay, it's time to get rid of Pascoe, get that money that he's got us, and go down to someone that is purely low. Maybe it's an Owen Paddy, maybe it's a Jake Simpkin, maybe it's a Brandon Smith, whatever you desire the most. And just getting to having that one hooker that's running for you every week after the bye period is done. Why I didn't go Jackson Ford to an Alex Twal or Jackson Ford to a Payne Haas? Well, there's two reasons. One of those reasons is I have a lot of money in my front row forward area. I can't have all that sitting there. Two, I believe that like with Payne Haas in the Origin, I believe that's just a silly trade in my opinion. Even if he went 110 this week, to have him sitting there for possibly an extra 2 or 3 rounds not playing. I've always said to you, when you get someone in for a bye period or just before a bye period, you're essentially halving their score in a way. Now, I will say I am doing that this week, which is a bit contradictory, but I'll explain why. And I think, we're getting to the pointy end of the season where you want to get the premiums in, where you want to get the must-haves in. But I don't think Payne Haas and Alex Twal are those ones, especially with Alex Twal coming back from injury and also the break-even being a bit higher than usual. We don't need to just jump the gun. We want to see how many minutes he gets. We want to see how he looks. We want to see how the Tigers look. And they are versing Knights at McDonald Jones Stadium. Talking about my second row forwards, I brought in Isaiah Papali'i last week, 64, not in full 80 minutes. Hopefully he gets 80 minutes this week, but very happy with that because he plays 18. I brought him in for that specific 18 major buy round. So we'll see how he goes. He can always, when he snags a like attacking stat, that's when he gets his 80 plus scores. So we'll hope to see that. Cleary, he's going to be my vice captain this week. Obviously, going back to my 2RFs, I have Duncan, Lukey, Catchman, and Hosking here. Really happy with that. Still going to hold Lukey. Still have Purdue and still have Chester in my team. And look, the only one of those three I'm really concerned about, as you can imagine, would be Purdue. But with Tamari Martin doing so well, I think Purdue can just sit in the background. And I hope maybe there's a bit of a flick of the switch. Hosking, he still remains to be someone who will plug away in my team. Yes, he does have the round 18 bye, so we have to be wary of that. But even with who I'm bringing in this week, I'm still going to have quite a bit of players ready for this round 18, and I'm also going to have a boost for next week. if I need it, which hopefully I don't, depending on injuries and stuff. So the one thing I wanted to talk about is the reason I'm also not bringing in Payne Haas and Alex Twal is because, and also why I'm trading down Jackson Ford and not up Jackson Ford is because I can go to one of these guys at the right time through Hosking, through Tarpanay, who's still in my team, through Willison once maybe Carrigan is back, or maybe Carrigan's injury just prolongs or something happens and Willison could potentially be, crazily enough to say, a season keeper. I mean, I know that sounds insane, but if something happened to Payne Haas in the Origin period, Willison literally just gets plugged into that team as a season keeper. So the longer I can hold him, the better. You don't know what can happen in Supercoach. Helam Lukey, he could easily move, but he could easily stay. I know they have a couple of buys coming through in quite a rough period, but I wanted to talk about the Cowboys draw for a second. And this is my inclination to holding Tommy Chester. I know we need to make money, and I'm not saying trading Tommy Chester is the wrong play, but let me just go through something with you. Once they get out of this round 18 period, they then have Manly away, Dolphins away. Sure, not amazing, but still points are there. We have to remember that the Cowboys can score points. They scored points against the Warriors at their home stadium. They put 20 on them. It could have easily been 26. And then they have Broncos and Sydney Roosters at home. Broncos at home should be a points fest. Sydney at home could be a points fest. Really like the end here. Gold Coast away, Para away, into a bye, into West Tigers and Canberra. And I feel around round 21 onwards, even round 19, the Manly game, Tommy Chester can be that guy that you could just plug in for an easy 50-60. Yes, he hasn't been performing in the last two games, but how many times have we said that about a premium? How many times have we seen that in Jermaine Asako, who is a goal kicker and gets 30 or 40 in one night? Like, this guy has been one of the best centers, one of the best cash risers. And when I look at my team, and you guys may or may not agree with this, but I'm more inclined, I think, in the next few weeks to get rid of KL Iro over Tommy Chester. Now, the only reason I'm holding on to KL Iro is because he plays 18 and 19. But if he gives me two scores around 50 to 60 in the next two rounds, I think I'm just going to get rid of him. I know they play Newcastle at Ocean Protect Stadium in 20, but I've had this guy the whole season. I started with him. I held him the whole season. He's been infuriating to own. He's down 100K. He had a period where he came back and started getting 100 plus scores. But looking at and watching their games, he's just been an absolute punish. Whereas I know Chester gets the ball a lot. I don't have to worry about them hopefully getting the ball to Iro and him doing something with it. I know Chester touches the ball a lot more. I know he has the ability to break out of something and do something spectacular. And the Cowboys, although their defense isn't great, the attack is really good. And it's prominent on both sides of the field. So that's my reasoning for holding Chester. Now, you may not have an Iro in your team. You may just want to get your mark in. Now, you're going to see someone else in my team, and that's my other trade of the week. That is going to be Makasini to Kalen Ponga. Now, the reason I haven't done Sua, which is I think it's Jonathan Sua, from the Bulldogs to Ponga, is because Cleary being my vice captain, if Cleary goes absolutely insane this week, I'm talking 140, 160. Obviously, I'm looping that. Now, if I have Sua as my trade out, he will lock out on the second game of this week, which is Bulldogs versus Gold Coast. So I won't be able to reverse that trade. But if I have Makasini out for Ponga, which is the last game of the round, I can potentially reverse this trade, save a trade, put Sua in somewhere or put whoever in somewhere and say, boom, I'm completely happy with that. VC loop and save a trade. So that's why I've done it that way. On top of that, I really do want to have Ponga. And this is where my calculation sort of came into play. A lot of people are going marky mark this week. I completely respect it and I completely understand it. But if you don't own Kalen Ponga, right? And I know Marky Mark has a lower break even. There's two things around this. Both of them are going to miss out on round 18, right? And Marky Mark, yes, he is a winger. Yes, he's in a crazy form, but so is Ponga. And he's a fullback who controls the Newcastle Knights team in every facet. The thing that grabs me the most is there's more chance of Ponga playing round 19 than Marky Mark. The reason being is Marky Mark plays on the Saturday against Parramatta. He may not back up that game, but Ponga plays against South on the Sunday. Now, to top that all off, I actually haven't looked at this, but I just thought of it now, is the Knights are 5th and the Roosters are 4th. They're both on 22 points currently. Now, this could be must-play games for both, but if Roosters win this week, right? If Roosters come out and beat Broncos and Newcastle randomly lost to the Tigers, there would be more incentive for the Knights to have Ponga play. Now, I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to be a points fest, and I'm really happy to have Ponga this week. Now, I will say one more thing. If Ponga has a stinker this week and Tigers come out and just look really, really good, this will be the last time I ever really play fullback roulette in Supercoach, because it's really burnt me this season. You know, chasing Walsh. Last season, I chased Gutherson. That hurt me. There was a lot of things I did do in the fullback. But for this one, I'm going to go with it. I love what he's doing with the team. The Newcastle attack is there. But that was my thoughts around Marky Mark and that. Now, also, Newcastle are playing at home. Roosters are playing away. Haas is back for, you know, playing with the Broncos. Reece Walsh is there without an Adam Reynolds and an Ezra Mam. I mean, Marky Mark could easily go 120. But I just love the thought of Kalen Ponga tearing up this team, tackle busting, just doing what he does, and hopefully staying healthy throughout the origin period and going from there. Now, if I wasn't going to go Ponga, I was very, very close to picking Lehigh Hopewadi. He plays in round 18. He plays in round 19. And the only thing that concerns me is he's not going to have Cooler, possibly Ola there. So that's the one thing that leads me a bit of astray. If there's someone else you guys think I should go that you're like, hey, what about this guy who plays 18 and 19? Let me know. I know Marky Mark at the moment is the guy. He's 6 break even, $686,000. I completely understand it. I'm not saying it's a bad trade, but I think I want to land on Ponga, who hopefully has a big game this week. Even if he goes 120, he'll make a bit of money and I don't have to worry about him too much. That's my thought strategy. That's how I'm going to hit it this week. This is how my team is standing. Tarpanay, Duncan, Fighter Logo. I don't think Chester will be my reserve. Oh, maybe he will be actually. I think I will go Chester. I think I will go with a bit of a bounce back Chester play. That could be completely incorrect. And we'll see how we land with that one. Let me know what you guys think of my trades. Let me know what you think of my strategy. Let me know if you think there's someone else that I should be focusing on or someone else who I could possibly go as a bit of a pod. Love hearing that pod stuff. But thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. It's Wolfie from the Rage Traders. Good luck in your round 17. Peace.